Have a quorum. So let's call this so we can have that discussion in public. So for the record, I am calling to order this regular meeting of the Board of Finance. Today is Tuesday, June 21st. Participating in the City Hall auditorium, I have board member Lorene Pesky, board member Jim Wright. Participating via Zoom, I have Christopher Anderson, I have Lance Boynton, and can I read? Yep, that's it for now. So before we begin, could we stand and pledge the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll jump into item number 1. This is, although there is no public here, just to go through the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to open the meeting to the public.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. I heard Mr. Boynton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There being no public to discuss, we'll move right into item number 2. I will entertain a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes from the May 17th, 2022 meeting. So moved. Thank you, Ms. Pesky.
Second.
Seconded by Christopher Anderson. Questions on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Item 2B, I'll entertain a motion to accept the special meeting minutes from May 31st, 2022.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Anderson. Are there questions on these minutes? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 3, budget transfer. I'll entertain a motion to approve the use and transfer of $35,209.27 from contingency to fund 312 general obligation funds to cover the remaining balance of the bond issuance costs previously approved by the City Council on June 6th, 2022. So moved. Thank you, Ms. Pesky.
Second.
And I heard Mr. Wright first. All right, so the floor is open to questions.
So my question is, why didn't we budget for these in advance? And is that what we typically do or don't do? And since we have new bond issuing going on for 2023, do we need to budget for that too?
Excellent questions. So I'll start, Mr. Farley and Robin can jump in. So when we do bond sales, there are always costs associated with the bond sales. You know, we have bond counsel, our attorney is Sandra Dawson. We have a bond advisor, that is Bill Lindsley from, oh my gosh, Bill Lindsley. Yeah, his company has changed their name a couple of times. You know, and there are other extraneous expenses. You know, there's Federal Express charges for the S&P rating call, all of those charges. There's also, with every bond sale, a bond premium that is paid. The premium is the price that is paid above the value, the face value of the bond. So if I'm selling $1,000 worth of bonds, the premium may be 10% and we get $1,000 and $1,010. And because we always know those premiums are coming, those premiums we try to use strategically to cover the cost of bond issuance and or to cover the interest. It's only interest that we can apply it to in the coming year. And we try to be very strategic as to where are we going to get the biggest benefit of that. The first year of any bond is usually your biggest interest payment. just like anything you amortize, you're paying most of the interest up front. So this year, with these bond sales happening in May, we looked at this, not having the complete cost of bond issuance. We set aside an amount that we thought would cover all of the expenses of bond issuance, and decided that the rest of this we should strategically use to offset that interest payment, which was over $400,000 in the 2023 budget. $400,000 means we get to put $400,000 more in the Board of Education budget or $400,000 more in the city budget. So those were the strategic plans we were banking on. We missed the mark with by about $35,000 on the fees. Keeping in mind the fees are incurred in the current fiscal year, so being able to fully pay those fees, we look to the contingency line item to cover those. If we didn't have the contingency, we'd be scraping other line items to bring forward a recommendation to the board. But this is one of those, you know, when Dan Farley and Robin and I are sitting in the room with Sandra Dawson, you know, these are the things that we're mapping out. You know, where can we best utilize these resources, get the, you know, the best benefit for the taxpayers. And this $35,000 is a piece that we just, you know, we didn't.
So we're going to have the high school bond.
Yes.
Go up.
Yes.
How do we have money in the budget, in the 2023 budget for that? Or are we counting again on the premium to pay all of it?
Yes. We did not budget expenses for the bond sales. We are absolutely banking on those premiums. The premiums in every single bond sale, there's a premium. And that premium actually is used to calculate the net interest rate that gets, you know, that is being paid for these. When we did our bond refunding, there were premium payments that always covered, they were always sufficient to cover the expenses, and the surplus was always applied to future interest payments.
So it can be used for these kinds of expenses. Yes. And it can be used for interest. Those are the two things a premium can be used for?
Yes. And the only rule that we have, and I'm looking to Dan when I say this, the only rule that we have to be very careful of is, again, being strategic, is you must expend that premium on those interest payments within 2 years. So when we received over $400,000 in premium with the recent bond sales, we were looking to say, you know, how much of the interest is going to be, could we charge off to the premium in year one? How much would be available for year two? And do we have enough to cover those expenses also? So it's not a perfect science, but we're pretty close.
I mean, it's 35,000. It's not that it's a lot of money. I just wanted to ensure that since we can't count on how much the premium is, that we have other resources to pay it, right, and pay those fees. And same thing would happen.
Yes. Now, the bond sales for the high school construction, high school, middle school, central office, that will be a significantly larger bond sale because, as you know, we've been exceedingly fortunate to get an 85% reimbursement rate, and Representative Cook deserves, you know, all credit and kudos for being able to accomplish that for us. However, with school construction, the school construction office withholds 11% of every reimbursement check. So really, for the first 3 or 4 years, we are actually bonding 25% of the cost. And 25% of 180 million is roughly $40 million. And again, with bond sales, you have to be strategic about the timing of those sales, borrowing or bond sales, because with a bond, you must expend all of the bond premium within 2 years. So we couldn't go out and bond that $40 million last year when interest rates were lower, because we knew there was no way that we were going to expend all of those funds in construction within that 2-year timeframe. So work to do, but really good, solid advice by both bond counsel and bond advisor that puts us in a good position to feel confident that the costs will be covered and a little bit of that interest will also be covered.
Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely.
When do you get back that 11 or 10% that they're withholding?
So it is 11% that they withhold, and upon completion of the audit of the project. So the construction happens over a 2 or 3 year period of time. With every advance, you pay your building contractor, the architect, the site work is paid. They submit those payments to the State Office of School Construction. They send reimbursement withholding the 11%. Then at the end of the project, everything is done. That's when the state then starts their audit of the project. And they audit every invoice, they audit every aspect of construction. They do a physical inspection of the construction. And only after that audit is complete do they release that 11%.
Comes in a lump sum.
It does.
And hence that's why the referendum question has to read that will look the whole entire amount rather than the 15%.
Right. Okay.
Right. So
been there, done that.
I know.
All these bills.
Yeah, the audit process, and there's a lot of school construction happening. So I am thinking that audit process will be longer. Although Mr. Aram has done a lot of school construction projects. I don't know, maybe he has, inroads that may make that audit go faster. But in the meantime, next year, 2023, there will be significantly larger amounts of funds being borrowed and bonded. Other questions on the motion? All right, then I will call the motion. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, I'll entertain a motion to consider business by department heads.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So department heads, anything, Robin, that you wanted to add this evening? And Robin and I have been starting to meet with some of the department heads to identify the $262,000 that we need to find by way of budget cuts, and hope to have that information back to the boards in July. Yes, budget, yes. I always feel like once the budget is done, there's like a little sigh of relief, but it isn't, because budget's done, then it's audit, there's budget transfers, it's close a year out. It is, it's a busy office. Anything from the state clerk's office? Deanne, anything from the treasurer's office?
I have all the figures for the bond if they're interested.
Yeah, do you mind giving a little bit of a, yeah, please.
So it might give you a better understanding of how this works. So of course we went out to bond for $7 million for road work. And then we had bond anticipation notes of $4.5 million that we went out to bid for as well. The $7 million bond, we were offered a premium of $537,200. But there's a underwriter's discount. They refer to it as a discount, but it's actually it's a commission paid to the underwriters for their marketing and the selling effort that they put into selling these bonds for us. And that commission was $69,383,000. So that makes the total purchase price at $7,467,817. And we're paying the true interest cost on that is 3.2895. So the actual premium left on that is $467,817. And on the anticipation notes, the premium on that was $83,475. Underwriter's discount, once again, in commission, $5,625. So that makes the total purchase price at $4,577,850. And the true interest cost on that, on the bands, was 2.2144685. So that left us with a net premium $77,850. So those two premiums total over $500,000, and that's going to pay the expenses for 2023. And in addition to that, I'm sorry, pay the interest, not the expenses. In addition to that, expenses that we have is bond counsel was $51,929.04. The S&P 500 interview and the rating that they give to us, that costs $20,750. Financial advisor, $18,000. Dissemination agent, $250. And a CD filing of $1,000. There's an official statement that goes out to the printer. That's $1,000. The posting of the POS through an electronic distribution system, $757.50. Advertisement to advertise for the bond sale, $500. And then paying agent for the bonds was $4,000. And for the notes was $600. So the other costs of issuance, these other expenses totaled $98,786.54. And so once again, now that'll be paid for with the premium that's left over after making those interest payments. Or you can look at it another way. I suppose we could say that we could have paid these expenses and then we would have been requesting a $35,000 to pay off the balance of the interest that we wouldn't have enough funds for. Now, just one other thing to keep in mind, that with the interest rates the way that they were, if the interest rates were lower, then perhaps we wouldn't be here looking for the $35,000 because we wouldn't have to pay back as much interest. So it's fluctuating. You never know what it is.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. I should have had that report as an agenda item for the board. I think that's really such important information for this board to have. If you could email that to the city clerk's office, and you don't mind, Heather, sending out to the board, that at least I think gives a good framework for what would happen again next year. So, any questions for Dan on that report? No? All right. Moving into item 5, I'll entertain a motion to consider business by mayor and members.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Second.
Second by Ms. Pesky. All in favor?
Aye.
Right, to the screen. Anything this evening, Mr. Boynton?
Well, the one note that I had, Mr. Farley kind of just talked about it a little bit. Interest rates obviously are climbing, so just wanted to know if there was some short-term ramifications that either incoming businesses, existing property owners, things that we should know from a Board of Finance standpoint on what some of that trickle-down effect, or if it could delay any of the investment that we're looking for in our city.
So I know when we were discussing the timing of bond sales and the interest rates, factoring in that we're borrowing 25% for the first few years. Obviously, we're looking at that through that first initial impact on the mill rate in the early years of bond payment. Bill Lindsley did a really nice job of showing over the 20 years of borrowing, the net impact to the taxpayers was just a little over $1 million. But the early years of the borrowing, the mill rate was, a 2.5 or 3 mil increase. And the end life of the borrowing was, less than $1 million. And when you look at it blended. So to answer your question about what we're thinking as we look at that next round of borrowing and interest rates and recession and whatever else is down the pipeline, I think we'd be looking again to strategically use those first premiums to mitigate that initial impact to the taxpayers. We're now at 47 mil. Even if we're really crafty, I do worry that first year of bond borrowing and payment is going to take us very close to 50 mil on as a mill rate, and then how long we have to carry that before we could start reducing that. So some really tough questions and decisions to be making over the next year. I don't see us going out to do that next round of bonding until the spring of next year, 2023. But we can certainly make sure that the Board of Finance is included in all of those discussions early on so that there's enough forewarning to the taxpayers as to why we're dealing with the numbers that we're dealing and what those numbers may be. What is it? The best laid plans. So, yeah. Mr. Anderson, anything this evening?
Nothing to add. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Pesky.
I don't often get a chance to have a microphone. This isn't really Board of Finance stuff, but I really enjoyed the Juneteenth celebration on Sunday and Pride Day celebration earlier this month, and having to listen to the radio today again with the hearings and the dysfunction that goes on in other places. Hartford sometimes, DC all the time, it seems. A lot of people, particularly my family, consistently ask me, why do I do this? And I do it because we can get things done in Torrington. We sing all, obviously there's two sides and parties and all that kind of thing, but we all have to get stuff done, and we do it. And then every once in a while we get to celebrate what we've done. And I was really pleased to be able to be a part of that this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. Mr. Wright, anything this evening?
I have a mundane question.
Mhm.
We're having a little bit of trouble with bears up on the countryside. So our garbage pails are getting knocked over. And the Waste Management claims they have a bear-proof receptacle. Do you know anything about that? And I guess you can get them and rent them from them. Does that mean you get rid of the one you have, or do you know anything about that?
So our hauler is USA Hauling. And I don't know that USA Hauling has the bear-proof tops. And because we're fully automated, I have to share a quick story. I had my grandchildren a couple of weeks ago in Yorktown Heights where they live. Garbage men still ride the back of the truck and they jump off the truck and they throw the garbage in. And I mean, it's frightening when we get stuck behind them. But the grandkids, we were behind a USA Hauling truck all the way down Highland Avenue. And they were mesmerized by the automation. You know, this was like a video game, watching that arm grab this bucket, dump it, and put it back down upright. Then they were counting when a can may have fallen out of the bucket before it hit the garbage truck. But I don't know how those locked tops would interact with that automation. We have ongoing conversations with USA Hauling as it relates to everything with solid waste. We can certainly inquire about those locked.
So I called Waste Management when they didn't come.
Waste management?
Yeah, I talked to Rob Wesolowski, our neighbor, and because they'd forgotten us on a Monday, so they're going to come on Tuesday. In the meantime, I have my garbage pail out there. At 5:45, the truck shows up, and of course, the bear had come. I have a bolt mechanism on it that I have to take off when they're coming. So they came before I could even get out there, and sure enough, the bear had come and knocked over my garbage, and the garbage guys got out and picked it up. Most of it. Is
this for your residential waste or for the commercial
No, I
waste?
don't have any. Residential. He's not supposed to do that. Around people
No.
came. He spoke like, yeah, he got the route, and he spoke like it was his. Is he working?
USA Hauling is
there
our
still
hauler.
a Waste Management?
There is, yes. Waste Management does. Yeah.
Well, I'm baffled then.
Well,
He spoke like
if he sent you a bill,
he spoke
then-
like it was his driver, his route, and the whole 9 yards.
I don't. Maybe they subcontract that route. I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's any consolation, the bear got my garbage on Saturday as well.
Yeah. I call it the Friday garbage buffet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ours is Monday.
Yeah,
Ours is
the
Monday.
whole neighborhood.
They know.
We
to come
see
in.
it.
They
Yeah.
know when to come.
Yeah.
And my, just this little aside, my brother-in-law, my son-in-law lives on the street, has a garage, you put the garbage in the garage. You get out the next morning, part of the fiberglass panel on the front had been ripped down,
Wow.
and the side window of the garage was out where the bear tried to get into the garage. So they're
Last year, they
really
were in one of
pest.
the houses near us, and this year they've been down in the house.
Oh, that's
Further
awful.
on the circle.
That's awful.
So I'm thinking, as I'm hearing you talk about how you lock that, I think we're gonna have to do padlocks so that they don't know the combination. They're so clever. I
Yes.
mean, they're opening doors and getting in
Yes.
houses and lifting windows and getting in sheds.
This week I had it out with the lock on.
Yeah.
I go out on Monday morning, the barrel has been pulled away because he couldn't get into it, and he broke up one of the corners where he could actually get in there. He pulled it out some, and my wife goes out and there's the bear sitting there eating the garbage at 6:45 in the morning. Real
Well, maybe
pest.
that's a solution to our solid waste problem. Let them eat.
They just tell the bears even.
I don't know. I will definitely look into that though, to see what technology there is. And you're right, the bear are crazy prolific in our area and downtown. I was looking at some social media posts, and they're in the downtown neighborhoods.
Too many.
So I'm not sure where that solution is.
And on my deck.
Oh my
no.
gosh.
Oh. And that looks like he wasn't too big. Maybe that's a cub.
No, that's a
yearling.
yearling.
That is a
He's
yearling.
bigger than- Yeah, the mom there is a mom with 3 babies. But she doesn't come around as much as this guy.
No, Mayor, I think you're onto something. I think all the residents should bring their garbage up to Mr. Wright.
Yeah.
We won't have to pay for a pickup.
Yeah.
I'm baffled by
We
this.
have to separate the organics because we really don't want to have to pick up the cardboard or the plastic. Or, yeah. I will see what we can find out. If there are no additional business, I'll entertain motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Wright, Mr. Anderson, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.